Update. How do I, 49 female, move forward after my daughter, 22 female, hid her father's affair from me for 2 years? Original post. I, 49 female, was married to my ex-husband, Derek, 49 male, for 20 years before divorcing a few months ago. We have 2 kids, a daughter, 22 female, and a son, 17 male. I found out Derek had been having a 2-year affair and my world was shattered. But what hurt almost as much was discovering that my daughter had known about it the whole time. She actively hid it from me for 2 years, lying, covering for him, and never once trying to warn me. When I found out, I was devastated, not just by my husband's betrayal, but by my daughter's choice to keep it from me. She was young at the time, and I understand it was a difficult position for her, but the pain was immense. I never confronted her directly, thinking it might affect her as she was about to go off to college. I just told her I knew, that I understood and tried to move on. But after she left, I found myself distancing from her more and more. It wasn't planned, I just needed space to heal, and that meant not calling her as often or reaching out as much. Fast forward a year and a half, and I've started dating someone 41 male who has a 10-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. Recently, we all went to Disney together and he posted a family photo of us on social media. For context, my boyfriend covered all the expenses as a gift for his daughter's birthday, wanting to make it special for her. Along with my son and me, she chose her 2 cousins to come along, making it a big family-style trip that was all about her. My daughter must have seen the post because she didn't call me for over a month afterward. And honestly, I wasn't as affected by her absence as I would have been before. I still love her, but every interaction brings up that pain. Out of nowhere, she called me in tears. She was screaming, saying I obviously hadn't forgiven her and that I'd shut her out on purpose. She accused me of replacing her with my boyfriend and his daughter. She kept saying, "It was a long time ago. I was a kid. I didn't mean to hurt you." She explained she thought she was doing the right thing by staying quiet, that she didn't know how to tell me, and that she was terrified of breaking our family apart. She asked me if I'd ever forgive her or if I'd move on for good. I tried to tell her that I loved her and never wanted to replace her, but she just kept pushing, saying I should get over it by now and that I'd abandon her for this new life. To top it off, my ex-husband later called me, furious, accusing me of leaving my daughter for a younger man and a new family. He even had the nerve to call me selfish for moving on. Ironically, his girlfriend is 30, and he's the one who blew up our family with his affair. It feels like no one understands that I'm still trying to recover from years of betrayal, and it seems like I'm expected to just let it go as if my pain doesn't matter. My son, who lives with me, found out about his sister hiding the affair after overhearing my ex-mother-in-law and sister-in-law talking. He was crushed and hasn't forgiven her either, and they've barely spoken since. I never wanted him to know, but it feels like the entire family is divided now, and I don't know how to fix it. I'm in therapy, but I still feel lost. Part of me knows she was young and didn't know how to handle it, but another part of me feels like she chose him over me. I love my daughter, but every time we talk, that hurt resurfaces. I don't know if I'm failing as a mother or if I'm protecting myself. I feel like I've emotionally checked out, and I don't know how to reconnect. Edit. Just to clarify, my divorce actually happened a few months ago, not 3 years ago as I originally mentioned. My sister, who is a bit of a scatterbrain, encouraged me to post here and typed out much of it for me. In the process, she got the timeline wrong and I didn't catch it before posting. My daughter was 17 when she found out about the affair. She had a lot going on at a time, including having to change schools due to some personal issues and repeating a year. So when I found out, it was less than 2 years ago. I hope this clears up the confusion. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You should definitely cut all contact with your ex unless it's about your minor child. Keep all communication via text so you don't have to hear his BS. That he thinks he can call and berate you is unbelievable. Next time, don't pick up or just hung up. Maybe you and your daughter could get therapy together to try and sort things out. I understand she was a kid trying to keep the family together, but your feelings are totally valid. I can't imagine how hurtful it must have been knowing she hid it for so long. It's been 5 years. She could have worked on all of this by now. Her daughter's feelings about being replaced with a new family are totally valid too. Now there's 5 years of damage done to her daughter on top of all the guilt she felt. Holding children to adult standards is BS. I understand your point, but it's actually only been less than 2 years since I found out about everything. Did your daughter ever apologize for what she did? Your ex can go kick rocks. I hope you blocked him after telling him to take a long walk off his short beer and taking a long look in the mirror. He had your daughter complicit in his affair and blew up his marriage. Unfortunately, your daughter has learned not to take accountability from her dad. If you need to be in contact with your ex due to your son, use a family app. Outside of that, don't speak or engage with him. He is an a-hole. OP, I wish you all the best with your healing and happiness. Thank you for your kind words and support. Honestly, my daughter's apology has been complicated. She did express that she was sorry, but it often came with explanations of how difficult it was for her, how she was stuck between her father and me. I can understand that she was young and in an impossible situation, but it still feels like she's brushing aside the depth of the hurt. Sometimes it seems like she doesn't fully understand why it's so painful for me, and that part has been hard to get past. As for my ex, yes, I've definitely limited contact with him to what's necessary for our son. My son mostly stays with me, so that call was a bit unexpected. We rarely speak directly, and when we do, it's usually through our lawyers. Our divorce was only finalized a few months ago, so I'm still adjusting to all the boundaries and just trying to protect my peace. He doesn't deserve any extra energy or emotional space in my life, and I'm doing my best to keep it that way. Now for the update. First, I want to thank everyone who responded to my post. I was honestly overwhelmed by the sheer number of replies. I tried my best to read through as many as I could, and some of the advice was hard to hear but necessary. It's been a lot to take in, but one comment really stayed with me. Someone mentioned how fragile life is and how little time we truly have with the people we love. That struck me deeply. I've been so consumed by the pain and anger that I forgot to think about what I'd want my relationship with my daughter to look like in the long run. If something were to happen tomorrow, would I be okay with leaving things as they are? That thought stayed with me, and within a few days, I decided to contact my daughter. I told her I wanted us to talk, not to rehash the past or point fingers, but to figure out how we could move forward. She was hesitant at first, which I completely understand. We had a conversation a few nights ago, and while it wasn't easy, I'm grateful she was willing to open up. There were tense moments, and I won't lie, it was hard to hear some of what she said. But for the first time in a long while, I felt like we were finally addressing what had been festering between us. We talked about what had happened, and I finally asked her for the truth about everything. When I first discovered her father's affair, he told me that she had always known about it. In fact, he claimed she had been his ally, hiding things from me multiple times. He even said that she disliked me and was on his side. Hearing that from him was devastating. I couldn't believe my daughter would do something like that or feel that way about me. The way I found out about the affair was awful, and the idea that my daughter had played any part in it, even unknowingly, made it so much worse. At first, she was very reluctant to talk about it, but eventually, she opened up and shared everything, including what led to her actions. A few months before discovering the affair, she had been involved in a difficult situation at her high school. Without going into specifics, it was a matter where her actions led to serious consequences. The school had a zero-tolerance policy, and as a result, she was expelled. She had to transfer to a new school and repeat the year. On top of that, her grades suffered, and she found it challenging to get back on track. When it happened, I felt it was important for her to face the full weight of her actions and take responsibility. I grounded her and took away her electronics, hoping the consequences would help her reflect and grow. I wanted her to understand the gravity of the situation and emerge from it as a better person. Her father, however, completely disagreed with my approach. He felt I was being too harsh, insisting that she had already learned her lesson and needed support rather than punishment. The tension in our household became unbearable. Between my frustration with him and my disappointment in her actions, I found it harder and harder to communicate properly with her. There were constant fights, arguments that seemed to erupt over everything and nothing at the same time. It wasn't just them. Therapy over the past year helped me realize that I played a part too. My hurt and frustration often came out as anger, and instead of addressing things calmly, I let my emotions take control. I was constantly angry and frustrated, and my mood likely created an even more tense and uncomfortable environment for everyone. So when she found out about his affair shortly after, she was still angry at me and reeling from everything that had happened. She admitted that part of her decision to stay quiet was fueled by a desire to get back at me. She felt like keeping the secret was her way of taking revenge, though she now realizes how wrong that was. She also told me she had tried to get her father to come clean, but he discouraged her, saying I had already been disappointed enough by her situation and shouldn't be burdened further. Feeling trapped, she lied and kept lying, hoping it would somehow blow over without me finding out. Hearing this from her was heartbreaking. It didn't justify what she did, but it helped me understand her perspective. Knowing her father pressured her to keep the secret makes my anger toward him even stronger. He broke everything with his affair and then used our daughter to cover for him, making her feel trapped and responsible for his lies. I hate what he put her through. To be honest, our marriage was already going through a rough patch at a time, and we likely would have ended up divorcing anyway. However, it's one thing to fail as a husband, but to fail so completely as a parent is unforgivable. They always had a good relationship, and I never wanted to ruin that for her, even when I was angry. But seeing how he used her in his lies has only deepened my resentment. I told her that I've been hurt, not just by her actions, but by how deeply they shook my trust in her. At the same time, I reminded her that I love her and always will. I said that while I can't change the past, I want to rebuild our relationship. We agreed to take things one step at a time. I suggested we try online therapy together. While she was hesitant at first, she agreed. She's already been seeing a therapist on her own and wasn't sure about opening up in a joint session, but I think she ultimately realized how much I want to make this work. I also brought up her brother. They've never had a closest relationship. Has always been more reserved and independent, while she's more outgoing and emotional. There's been tension between them in the past, and ever since he overheard what happened with her hiding the affair, they've barely spoken. I've tried to talk to him about maybe giving her another chance, even when I wasn't on the best of terms with her. I really want them to have a good relationship, but I also don't want to push him too much. He's his own person, and I don't want him to feel like I'm forcing him into something he isn't ready for or doesn't want to do. He is allowed to make his own decisions, and if they need time apart to heal, I'll respect that. Someone mentioned the unrealistic standards we often hold women to, and I've been thinking a lot about that. I don't hold her to any impossible standard just because she's a woman. She is the light of my life, but sometimes I realize I've shared everything in such a negative way because of how it all played out. I'm just trying to make sense of it all. I don't know exactly where I stand or what I'm feeling at times. I'm just moving through life like anyone else, doing the best I can. Thank you all again for your advice and for giving me the push I needed to start this conversation. It's not easy, but I'm hopeful we'll get through this, one step at a time. Please let go of the idea of your son and daughter being close. Don't push for it. Don't ask for it. Just let it go. People choose who they want to engage with. And quite frankly, if I were your son, I would not want to be around your daughter either. They won't be close and you need to be okay with that. Honestly, I'm coming to terms with it. They have a decent age gap and their personalities are very different, which often causes friction. Even before her concealment of the affair came to light, they weren't close. There are several reasons for it, and I don't want to paint anyone in a bad light, but it's been like this for some time now. Right now, I'm trying to let my son be his own person and respect his feelings. I don't want to pressure him into prioritizing this relationship. I've also put him in therapy to help him process everything. He is a bit apathetic about the situation, not towards me, but towards his sister. He just doesn't care anymore, which in some ways feels worse. But this is where things stand for now, and we don't know what might happen in the future. I'm learning to take it one day at a time. Holy crap, you are both really crappy parents. No wonder your kids have issues. I'm doing my absolute best. It's so easy to sit back and judge without knowing the full picture. Tell me, what makes me a crappy parent for punishing my daughter for her actions? For taking some time to heal and process just because I'm human too? I gave her everything she needed to succeed in life. And as soon as that incident happened, I put her into therapy. I'm 100% okay with facing harsh judgment for how I handled the affair situation. But I'm not okay with being judged for how I handled the school situation. I stand by my decisions. Maybe my tone was off, but I'm confident that what I did was right. Anyone who acts a certain way should be ready to face the consequences. And that's what I was teaching her. Yes, her constant tantrums bothered me. Yes, everything about the situation bothered me on a personal human level. But I'm not some freaking saint who just sits on a high throne. It's easy to point fingers at mothers especially. I know you're calling both of us crappy parents, but I'm going to push back here. We're human too. I did my very best. And no, you don't get to call me a crappy parent. Last story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my best friend after she talked to my cheating ex-husband behind my back and made hurtful comments? I, 37 female, left my husband, 38 male, earlier this year after discovering he was cheating on me with someone from his workplace. We were together for 12 years, married for 8, and I truly thought we were solid. Finding out he had been sneaking around and lying to me for months was the most gut-wrenching thing I've ever experienced. I found out over Christmas last year. When I decided to leave, I asked my friends for one simple favor. Please don't maintain a relationship with him. I didn't think it was unreasonable. He betrayed me, and I needed my friends to have my back as I tried to pick up the pieces of my life. Most of them understood, but one of my closest friends, Sarah, 38 female, completely ignored my request. Here's the thing. Sarah and I have been best friends for over 15 years, but she's always had a strange dynamic when it came to my relationships. She used to make comments about how she was jealous that I always ended up with the good-looking guys, and would sometimes joke that she had a connection with my ex, even before he and I got together. I used to laugh it off, even though it made me feel uncomfortable and belittled, thinking she didn't mean anything by it. But now I'm not so sure. After the split, I started noticing Sarah acting strangely. She'd casually drop things into conversations that only my ex would know, like details about his new job or what he'd been up to. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off, saying she'd read it on his social media. Eventually, a mutual friend told me Sarah had been texting him regularly and even meeting him for coffee. When I confronted her, she admitted it but tried to downplay it, saying we were friends long before you and he got together. She added, I'm not going to throw away my connection with him just because you two didn't work out. What hurt even more was when she said, I don't get why you're so upset. He's still a great guy, and you need to stop being so controlling. She accused me of being too emotional about the divorce and said I was forcing her to pick sides. Then she told me to stop always being the victim. Here's what really stings. I don't know what he's been telling him about me. I confided in Sarah about everything. How hard it's been to start over, how anxious I feel about my finances, and how much I've struggled with therapy. The thought that she might have shared those deeply personal things with a man who destroyed me makes me sick. I told her I couldn't trust her anymore and stopped speaking to her. Now she's texting me saying she misses our friendship and thinks I'm being unreasonable for cutting her off. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for walking away from Sarah? Was I too harsh? Or did she cross a major line here? Are you sure they weren't sleeping together too? Fairly sure. She is in a relationship with someone else and she seems pretty committed to him. My ex never showed any interest in her. It was always her with the insistence that they had a connection. I highly doubt she is. Either way, please get your full panel checked for STIs. I did get checked right away after I found out he cheated, because he would come home and have unprotected sex with me after being with another woman. She says you're making her pick sides, but she's willing to throw away your friendship to keep him around. She picked him.